We're live, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is Friday, October 20th, 1 p.m. Central. So much to talk about today. Let's just go ahead and get started. No more intro. If you're live, thank you. If you're on recording, thank you. Thank you to everybody. So if you're not familiar, Tesla Cybertruck is ready to launch on November 30th. And we've gotten some brand new information, not just about the trims that the truck is going to have and how much weight it can pull, which will give us a lot of information. But we also have a new video of the truck driving around at night with a bunch of bullet holes on the side. There it is. Look at this thing. What the heck, right? So this was posted this morning on X, formerly known as Twitter, of a Cybertruck driving around at night. I'll let it play one more time with a bunch of bullets on the side of it. Thank you so much for the folks that posted this on X, Tesla Motors Club of Silicon Valley, and he also tagged somebody for the credit, which I believe was, it should be in the reply somewhere. I believe it's not. Okay, it's okay. We'll make sure to give him credit in the comment section below. And then Elon actually replied to that video, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, and said that they emptied an entire drum magazine of a Tommy gun into the driver door, Al Capone style. No bullets penetrated into the passenger compartment. And then, so that's kind of wild. And for those that are not familiar, a Tommy gun is usually a 45 caliber type of bullet that you put in that gun, for those that are want a little bit more information about that. Okay, so we've talked about that, and now let's talk about some of the trims and information that we've now have for the Cybertruck on an official filing from the government, I guess we'll call it. So now we have a VIN decoder, which is basically when you have a brand new car, you get like the VIN, which is a bunch of numbers and letters which have different designators for the type of vehicle that you're buying. And so for the two new products that Tesla is releasing, which is both the Tesla Semi and the Cybertruck, we now have official designations from the government, which will also tell us what the trims and acceptable loads are for those vehicles. And I want to specifically focus on the Cybertruck today. So Cybertruck is going to be marked on the fourth digit with a C. And then there is two different types of gross vehicle weight ratings for the Cybertruck. There is Class H, which is greater than 8,000 pounds to 9,000 pounds, and Class H, which is greater than 9,000 pounds and 10,000 pounds. And then there's also two things as far as trims go. We now have two official designators for the two trims that Cybertruck will officially, I guess, will launch with starting this year. We have a standard dual motor and a performance tri-motor. Okay, so we have two classes, G and H, 8,000 to 9,000 and 9,000 to 10,000, and two trims, standard and performance, dual motor and triple motor. For those that are not familiar, gross vehicle weight rating is basically what the government legally allows an individual to load in their fully loaded truck without pulling a trailer. So for those two classes, if we go back, the 8,000 to 9,000 pounds, what this means is that the Cybertruck, with everything on the bed and inside of the truck, cannot exceed more than 9,000 pounds for a Class G, which I'm assuming is a dual motor, and the Class H, which I'm assuming is a tri-motor, cannot exceed more than 9,000 to 10,000 pounds, but it does not include the trailer. I want to be super clear. It does not include the trailer. It's just whatever you can put on the bed and whatever you can put inside of the truck. So this is brand new information. And what's fun about that number is that now we can use that and data that we have from Tesla from the reveal back in 2019 to understand how much the truck is likely to weigh in both configurations. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. So if we go back to 2019 November, which is 4 years ago, when the truck was unveiled, they initially had three specs. They had single motor, dual motor, and tri-motor. From the VIN filing, we now know that dual motor and tri-motor are the first two that are going to launch. The range numbers are here from before. We'll have to see if those hold 300 plus miles, 500 plus miles, with a 0 to 60 or 4.5 and 2.9. But what I really want to focus on is the payload. The payload is how much weight you can put on the truck legally that will get you under that gross vehicle weight rating. And for all three specs, they listed it back in 2019 at 3,500 pounds. And so now we have enough data to not only understand how much the Cybertruck weighs, how much it can carry, but we can also compare it to the most popular trucks out there in the F-150 and also the F250, which I think is going to give us some fascinating numbers for us to compare. So let's go ahead and look at those real quick. What I did this morning, as best as I could, is I went on Ford's site for the F150, and I spec'd a truck that is similar to the CyberTruck as much as I could get it. And the one that I spec'd was the F150 5.0 liter V8 engine with a 4x4 dual drive. And this one is a Super Crew, which is the 4-door, and you have a full back and front where you can sit 5 people. And it also has a 6.5 foot box, which is going to be the same bed length as a CyberTruck. And this one, the starting MSRP, if I scroll all the way down, and I'll put this all in a spreadsheet so we can compare very easily, it's $48,440. And I also compared it to an F250. This one's the Crew Cab 6.8 liter V8. This one is also 4x4. And the closest bed size I could get was the 6 3/4 length. They don't have a 6.5. The smallest one they have for the F250 is 6 3/4, which puts it right there with the CyberTruck, just slightly larger. And the price for this truck, if I scroll all the way down, is starting price is $51,560. And so the thought process here from Ford is probably like a little bit cheaper, a little bit less performance with the F150, a little bit more expensive, a little bit more performance, but likely more Spartan in the interior potentially. Who knows? And then I went to their site and they had all the bunch of numbers about weight and gross vehicle weight rating and dimensions and blah, blah, blah. So I went in and I make sure that I had the right figures for each one of the trucks. Do double check me in the comment section below if you think these are different, but to try to compare it 1-to-1 with the CyberTruck. So I went ahead and put them all next to each other. We put the CyberTruck dual motor standard, which we know is the first trim that they have available. Again, my assumption is that this lower spec CyberTruck is the one that's going to have the lower weight rating because it doesn't have as much power. So it won't be able to pull a higher weight safely per the government, right? And so the tri-motor theoretically is going to have more performance. We should be able to pull more weight. And so that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But the other key thing to think about is that if you add another motor, you're probably going to add weight. And if you add more batteries, you're going to add weight, right? So here's a comparison between all 4 trucks, the drivetrain, the boxes, 6.5 foot for every single one. Now, the gross vehicle weight rating for the lower spec CyberTruck, my assumption again is 9,000 pounds maximum and 10,000 pounds for the tri-motor. The F150 XL Super Crew, so the smaller of the two, the gross vehicle weight rating is 7,200 pounds, and the F250 XL Crew Cab is 10,000 pounds. And then if I look at their website and see what the curb weight is, because it's listed on their website, it's 4,800 pounds for the F150 and 6,400 pounds for the F250, which means that if you just minus those two numbers, it will tell you how much the government will, quote unquote, legally allow you to carry safely on the truck without a trailer. For the F-150, it's about 2,400 pounds, and the F-250 is about 3,600 pounds. Now, for the CyberTruck, because we know the gross vehicle weight rating now, and we know at least the 2019 specs, which could change, which could go higher potentially, but I'm going to assume they're going to stay the same. Those are 3,500 pounds. And so if you minus those two, if you minus the gross vehicle weight rating and the payload capacity, then you can get to a curb weight, an estimated curb weight for the Cybertrucks. And based on this math, this could change. I don't want to say that this is the official actual curb weight for the Cybertruck, but it's likely to be around this area. The curb weight for the dual motor will be around 5,500 pounds, and the tri-motor will be around 6,500 pounds. The assumption here is that the additional motor and the battery is probably going to add an additional 1,000 pounds or so, and that's why the gross vehicle rating is higher, because even though it's heavier, it can pull more weight, and theoretically it's going to have big enough brakes to handle that. And then with less motors and less batteries, you'll have the $5,500 curb weight for the dual motor Cybertruck. And if you compare it to the F-150, the dual motor is going to be about 700 pounds heavier, and the tri-motor performance versus the 250 is only going to be about 100, 200 pounds heavier. But again, this math here is based on my math. These are not official. This is official. This is official-ish based on 4 years ago. And all of these are very, very well known. Now, what's interesting about this too is that we have a price for the F-150 and the F-250, obviously, because you can just go to Ford's website and see how much they're priced. So a F-150 XL Super Crew V8 6.5 foot 4x4 with is $48,440 starting MSRP before any delivery fees, dealer markups, options you want to add on top of that truck. And the F-250 XL Crew Cab 6.8 liter V8 6.75 foot bed 4x4 is $51,560 plus delivery fees plus dealer markups plus options, right? So these are the starting prices. Now, what's cool about this now is that because we have sort of a kind of one-to-one comparison with one of Tesla's biggest competitors, the F-150, the Ford F-150 for the Cybertruck, we can now get even more honed in on what the price is likely to be for the Cybertrucks. We don't have the official figures from Tesla yet, but we have more data now that kind of helps us understand how Tesla's likely to price the Cybertruck versus its competition. And the way we can do that is by analyzing their current fleet, their current cars they're selling right now versus its typical competition. And so what I did is a super simple math to try and understand what this could be. So I took a Toyota RAV4, which is the it's like tied with the Model Y for the best-selling SUV in the United States thus far this year. And the Model Y is likely to surpass the RAV4 in Q4, but they're basically the same. RAV4 2.5 liter 4-cylinder front-wheel drive starts at about $30,000, and a Tesla Model Y electric vehicle rear-wheel drive, so both of these are only two-wheel drive cars, they're not all-wheel drive cars, starts at $43,990. There's about a 45% premium between a Tesla Model Y and Tesla's quote-unquote closest competitor when it comes to trying to offer what you're trying to offer to the customer, and it can do basically the same thing. The Model Y is going to have more options, it's going to be more luxurious, it's going to be better performance, it's going to have, you know, the self-driving optionality, it's going to have all these safety features that the RAV4 doesn't have, but that's where the premium comes in, right? That's why it has a premium. And so we can apply a similar type of thought process for this math here with the Cybertruck and the Ford F-150. And if we apply that 45% premium on top of the Cybertruck, if I remember where the hell is my color thing? I have this hidden. Ready? Reveal. Ta-da! I did the math before I came on, y'all. So if we do the same 40% premium on the Cybertruck, not official, again, numbers in red are not official, these are my estimations, a 45% upcharge will land the Cybertruck in either spec somewhere around the $70,000 to $74,000 price range if that thought process holds, right? However, I do want to put that against something else as well that I've done in the past, which is I've tried to put the potential Cybertruck pricing within a sort of chart that helps me understand where the truck is likely to end up. And I've done this before in a video. So what I've done is I've plotted out Tesla's current competition for the SUV and sedan, and I've tried to see where the Model Y falls in versus its competition. And I also did the same exact thing with the pickup trucks. And I did some math, and I'm like, okay, this is where the Cybertruck is likely to end up. And so the prices I came up with then was that the dual motor extended was going to start around $69,000. Like I used that exact number playfully, but it truly was around that region to uphold the same trend that the SUV and the sedan were having in the market, okay? And the tri-motor was going to come in around $80,000, right? So if we compare it back to where I landed here, if we use the Model Y example, the math is very, very similar, right? So that's another data point that says, hey, Cybertruck will probably start around here-ish, somewhere around this number, most likely. It could be higher, it could be lower, but this is where I'm landing, and I could be 100% wrong. But what's very important about this number is that as long as it's under $80,000, as long as that starting price for the Cybertruck on either spec is under $80,000, you can take advantage of the EV tax credit for that truck of $7,500 federal in the United States plus other state incentives. So as long as they come in under that $80,000 mark, which I believe they will, now that we have even more data that backs this up, in my opinion, I could be wrong, right? Then you could theoretically buy a Cybertruck for somewhere around $60,000 with the federal tax credit included in it. In addition to that, here's another variable that we should talk about. If the curb weight of one of the Cybertrucks of 6,500 pounds-ish is accurate, right? Similar to an F-250, 6,500 pounds. In the United States, the 6,000 pound vehicle tax credit deduction is a rule under the federal tax code that allows people to deduct up to $25,000 of the vehicle's purchasing price on their tax return. The vehicle purchase must weigh over 6,000 pounds according to the gross vehicle weight rating, but no more than 14,000 pounds. In 2022, SUVs with loaded weight weighs over 6,000 pounds can be 100% deducted using bonus depreciation. The vehicle must also be used primarily at least 50% for a qualified business use. So there is a rule in the federal tax code that says you can deduct up to $25,000 off a vehicle's purchase price as long as the gross vehicle weight rating is above 8,000 pounds. And I actually read this slightly wrong before, which means that the gross vehicle weight rating for both Cybertrucks is above 6,000 pounds. So in theory, the Cybertruck will also qualify for this business tax credit. But the key thing is you got to make sure that it's for qualified business use at least 50% of the time. But I wanted to bring this to light as well, because now that we have the official numbers, this also comes into play. So you theoretically could get the $7,500 tax credit on top of an additional business tax credit. Theoretically, do not listen to me. Talk to your accountant, talk to your tax advisor. I'm not a professional when it comes to this stuff. But so much new information, kind of wild. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And I'm just gonna end it here because I want this to marinate for y'all. And we'll talk about this even further starting on Monday in a different live stream because there's just so much to absorb. So thank you so much for stopping by. I love you so much, and I hope you have I hope you have a fantastic Friday and a great weekend. I love you. Bye.